Hi. So I have come back to this channel after a very long, several months hiatus. Well, I suppose you might be watching this not on my channel, in which case, fucking disregard that part. But, I decided to come back to talk to you about the same thing that everybody else in the world wants to talk to you about lately, which is voting. And while I am sure there is a lot of specifics and perspectives and opinions and whatever that I'm not gonna fully delve into or deal with in this video, partially because I don't have the time and partially because it's not the point. There are some really key critical things that I think need to be addressed and talked about and really just bluntly pointed out in a way that I'm very sure a lot of people are not going to like, and I'm very sure doesn't fucking matter because it doesn't change it or make it any less true or make it any different. So, like most things in life, and especially in our current reality the last few years, not liking something doesn't make it less true or more true. And I guess that's kind of its own sad underscore to this whole conversation. But I guess my first point, statement, whatever, is if you choose to not vote in this election, you are a bad person. That is not something that I'm willing or feel compelled or see the merit in adjusting or backing down from or accommodating or softening or anything else. If you choose to not vote in this election, you are a bad person. Because the reality of that is that the reasons beyond the general basic civic duty and expectation in participating in society and all of those things, which are fair and are valid and are meaningful, and that is worth its own separate discussion. But beyond those things or outside of those things, the reality is that that choice means you're choosing to not stop or mitigate or at least attempt to do either of those things somebody who is a very literal fascist, a very literal tyrant, and a very literal psychopath. Be that through, how do I phrase it? Be that through willful participation or mental decay. I don't know. I don't especially care. And it absolutely doesn't matter. Because the end result is the same. To feel that your opinions, value, assessment of government, democracy, voting, all these different things, is more meaningful or crucial or important than the very real, very literal, very damaging things that are happening in our country and in our society and in our government, and in our communities and in our streets and everything else. Like, the idea that your displeasure and disdain for the system is more important than stopping those kinds of horrific things and atrocities and failures and enabling of systems and people who would do those things and who would make the kind of choices and continue to benefit and display the kinds of choices, behaviors, actions, whatever, that you find so fucking repugnant and so disdainful in the first place, is ludicrously arrogant and wildly self-defeatingly self-righteous. And like, I'm all for sticking to your principles and doing what you believe in, and obviously by inherent right and the way this country is designed or supposed to be, you have full freedom and rights to choose to not participate. And generally, that's fine. Generally, that's something that isn't as critical and high stakes and traumatizingly severe, quite simply, as what our reality is right now and what we're facing and what is going on and what the not only potentials of what could happen, but the continuing potentials of what already has begun. And it's fucking insane to me that anybody who has such a problem and such resentment and such disappointment in our system and our government, which I completely understand and by and large agree with you, but the idea that somebody who has those feelings and sees our government that way and views the treatment and the participation and the behaviors of other people in a society the way that they tend to be and the way that a lot of them have been and the way they impact other people and all those different things. Like, to have that level of problem with those things and then consciously choose to do nothing to interfere or object or try to stop those things is laughably asinine and incredibly fucking childish. Like, that is such a literal child's mentality of, I don't like this, I don't think this is good, I don't want this to happen, so I'm going to complain, and I'm going to throw a fit, and I'm going to be big and blustery about it, and then I'm going to do absolutely fucking nothing about it, or to change it, or to improve it, or to make it better. Like, It's fucking ludicrous on its own. Beyond and outside of your feelings about politics and government and our government and all those other things. Again, the idea that, like, somebody would look at this situation and everything that's been going on, and the person that Trump is, and the person that a lot of his party members and whatever the hell you want to call them, closer co-workers, whatever, and the people that frequently are seen with him and back him up and support him and spew the same horrifically garbage bullshit that he does. Like, then anyone can look at that situation and those people, and not that you shouldn't feel disgusted, not that you shouldn't feel betrayed, not that you shouldn't feel hopeless or lack of faith in the system that allowed them to be where they are and to do what they do. But that anyone would look at that and consciously decide that it's not worth it or not important enough to do everything you can, including the easiest, laziest, effortless, simplistic bullshit in the entire world to prevent that activity and those people from continuing to do the horrific, shattering, indescribably awful things that they have done is incomprehensible to me. Much less how then somebody would choose to try and justify that or explain that away. As if your disgust for the system somehow excuses or validates your choice to very literally, for all intents and purposes, allow that person, those people, those activities to continue unchecked and unmitigated. Because the reality is, that's what that fucking is, and that's what you're doing. Choosing to do nothing against it is choosing to allow it to continue. And I don't give a fuck what your feelings are. I don't care what you think about the system. I don't care about your analysis of the parties and voting and all these other things. And, like, it doesn't fucking matter. The reality is that that is what your choice means, and that that is what your choice enables. And the simple, realistic outcome of that being the case and that being your choice is that you are a fucking bad person. Because anybody who would choose to allow those things to continue and choose to enable those people to continue to do what they do unchecked is a fucking awful person. The idea that you can look at the pain and the suffering and the fear and the tension and the anxiety and the uncertainty and the pain and the torture and the suppression and the indescribable damage and trauma to these groups of people, and the people doing it to them, and the systems doing it to them. And regardless, again, of however you feel about those people and that systems, and that's entirely fucking fair and valid, but that you would look at those things and those people and what is happening to them and what they are going through and fucking choose not only to do nothing to help them, but to do nothing to stop the people hurting them is unfucking forgivable to me. I feel like that idea comes, or not idea, but that willingness comes very, very directly from, again, besides wildly misplaced arrogance, from a place of privilege and or detachment and or disconnection. And I entirely understand that. And not just as a like placating, like I get, like no, very, very fucking literally and directly, I understand that. I've spent the vast majority of my life living in that world and those spaces and that way of looking at things and that way of being detached and being removed and being distant from those things and those people and those pains and those problems and that responsibility. That has been the majority of my life. Despite being a person of color, I have lived in a very insular, separated, and non-immersed bubble and environment. And I'm not, like, again, this is not the time or the place to get super deeply into all of those things and factors and what happened and how it works and why. The simple fact of reality is I'm very aware of what that feels like and how that works and how it makes sense to you and how you justify it and how you explain it away and how not only you feel about it, but how you feel about the fact that that's how you feel about it. And just the day-to-day comfort and ease and lack of disruption to your day-to-day and to your life and to your experiences and to your insular little fucking mental bubble. And I understand how easy it is to look at all the incomprehensible, insane shit happening around you, happening to people around you, happening near you, maybe even happening to people that you know, and still being able to come away with a feeling of distance and separation and otherness, external. And in a way, depending on who you are and your circumstances, it may be very external. It may not really affect you or your life or your day-to-day. If you are a white person, or even a lot of other minorities, depending on where you live, your experiences, who you surround yourself by, what your community is like, whatever number of factors, it may not affect you that much. It may not be that directly personally important to you. It may not impact your day-to-day life or experiences or feelings or family or friends that much, if maybe even fucking at all. And that's true, and that's fair. You know, I mean, you're not necessarily a part or certainly attached to something that you're not involved in. And that's completely fair. But the reality is, living in this country and what this country is and what it is supposed to be and can be. And really, I mean, beyond that, just living in a society. In a fucking society. While your experiences may be different, while your direct environments may be different, while your personal community and your bubble may be different, the fact of reality is you are still a part of your neighborhood, your community, your city or township, your state, and this fucking country. And it does not matter how you feel about that or the issues you have with how it works or how it's run. You are still a part of it, and as a part of it, you are absolutely fucking responsible for putting work and effort and concern and sincerity and compassion into it. Nothing changes that, and nothing absolves you of that. Nothing. If you resent, hate, disagree with, what the fuck ever, governments or structures or systems or the way that they work, it is absolutely your responsibility to get involved in whatever medium, method, like style, whatever that you feel most compelled to do and that makes the most sense to you and that you feel is going to be the most effective and the most meaningful. It is not only your right, but your responsibility and your duty. And not even just your civic duty, like your moral fucking obligation. If you have a problem with it, it is your responsibility to do something about it. And taking this whole petulant, easily convenient, effortless fucking road of, I don't like it, I don't like the system, I don't like how it works, I don't trust it, blah, 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 blah. Therefore, I'm not going to participate in it at any level. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm not going to engage with it. I'm not going to put any effort into it. And I'm going to essentially tell society to fuck off, tell the people in society to fuck off, contribute nothing, and still fucking sit here and continue to derive the benefits and the security and all of the fucking pleasantries that come with being a part of this country and this society. And that shit is so unbelievably, indescribably selfish and disgusting and hypocritical and fucking pathetic. And anybody that dares to sit here and say that their belief or discomfort about the system is somehow more important or overriding or in some way fucking negates those facts is a psychopath and or sociopath, a child, and somebody who should absolutely never be trusted to give insightful opinions and judgments and determinations about a system or a society, because you clearly do not function at the basic inherent levels of integrity and principle and whatever form of morality as an individual, let alone as an individual who is a part of that society. Like, if you're not going to contribute to it, and you are not going to put your effort into it, and you are not going to do something to better it, your opinions about it are fucking meaningless. And I don't just mean like your vote doesn't count or anything the fuck else, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. Your personal beliefs, thoughts, anything about you as an individual person, and this is true for anyone in the world, your individuality means nothing when you vote. Your vote is an action. That action is not an individual thing. Your individual experience, choices, feelings, morality, etc. colors the choice that goes into that action. But the action itself is the same as every single other person who does it. And you can say however good or bad that is, doesn't matter. Again, not the point. Conversation for another time. But the idea that while that makes it the same as everyone else, it's also the same as everyone else. Your vote counts no less, no more, no different in any fucking way, shape, or form than anyone else's. but the effect and the impact that that action can have in your neighborhood, in your community, in your city, in your state, and in this goddamn country is so fucking important and so necessary and so indescribably critical right now. This moment and this situation and the point that we are at is so much more severe and extreme and critical and dangerous than certainly any point in my lifetime, and probably in the vast majority of yours. There are very definitely people who have experienced things worse than this who are still alive today, but there's not fucking a lot of them. The vast majority of us have not experienced many things worse than this. Or at the very least, certainly within this country. At least as far as just the regular day-to-day average part of your daily life experience of living in this country. And it's I cannot fathom how anyone can believe or think or feel like or be comfortable with the idea that what is going on not only demands and merits your involvement and your effort, but absolutely goddamn requires it. Makes it an inarguable necessity. I very much encourage people to get involved in whatever methodology, format, structure, whatever else that you feel is most effective and most meaningful and most productive for you. 100%, every day, all the time, forever. I will encourage that. That is how being a happy, fulfilled individual works. That is part of, again, beyond your inherent rights as just a person, but your inherent rights and given freedoms within this country to be able to do that. That freedom to live that way, to make those choices, to decide to participate or not, to that degree or to whatever degree, is something that is afforded to you because of the system and government and country that you live in. You can say whatever you want about the fact that that should be a natural, inarguable, inalienable right, and I agree with you. And a lot of people do, and a lot of people don't. But the fact of reality is, you're only allowed to have that because of the country you live in and the system you're a part of. Because if you weren't, it would be different. You could try to fight it. You could try to make little rebellion groups and do whatever the hell you want, and maybe eventually you'd be successful. But the fact of reality is there are a lot of places that do not live like that and do not function like that because they do not have the capability. You are lucky enough to live in a place where you fucking do. At least a hell of a lot more than most people. And if you choose to absorb and make use and revel in, again, the comfort, luxuries, conveniences, whatever, of what comes with that country and that system, while diminishing and degrading and verbally tearing it down without also doing something about it and contributing to it and or trying to actively work to improve it, you are a bottom-feeding piece of shit. If you would look at everything that's going on right now, and particularly what minorities and BIPOC people are facing, but also just what our country as a whole, as a community, is facing right now, and not be motivated or moved or feel obligated to, at the very least, do, again, the easiest thing in the entire goddamn world that you could possibly do to stop it from getting worse than the already mind-bending horrificness that it is now. The best that I could say to you is that you don't deserve to be a part of this society or this country. That's the best that I could say to you. And if you make that choice, having people in your life who are particularly vulnerable, who are BIPOC, who are the people most deeply and severely and consumingly and dangerously affected by what is going on, you are a heartless, hypocritical fucking monster. And I can only pray that the people in your life most affected by this know the person that you are, know how unwilling you are to help them, even with the simplest, most effortless choice and action. And that you thought your personal opinions were more important than their safety and their livelihood and their existence and their trauma and their fear and their lives. And I can only hope that they have the willpower to make a better decision than you do.